So, I recently finished reading The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And let me tell you, this book is not your typical finance guide. It's not about complicated charts, stock picking strategies, or technical jargon. Instead, it's about how our emotions, our upbringing, and even our life experiences shape the way we think about money. And honestly, after going through it, I realized just how personal money really is. The biggest lesson this book hammers home is that being good with money isn't about how smart you are, it's about how you behave. You can have a PhD in finance and still make terrible decisions if you let emotions like greed or fear take the wheel. On the flip side, you could know very little about investing, but still end up wealthy if you just stay disciplined, consistent, and patient. That's why the subtitle of the book is Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness. It's not about formulas, it's about mindset. One of the most powerful ideas in this book is that people's financial decisions often make sense only in the context of their own personal experiences. Think about it. Someone who grew up during the Great Depression views money differently than someone who grew up during a booming economy. A person who's seen their parents lose everything in a recession might be extra cautious with money, while someone who's only ever lived through prosperity might take bigger risks. The point is, nobody is crazy when it comes to money. They're just acting based on their own life story. Another thing that really stood out to me was Housel's perspective on wealth versus getting rich. He makes this distinction. Getting rich is about luck and opportunity. You might stumble on a big business idea, inherit some money, or strike gold in the stock market. But staying rich is a whole different skill. That's about humility, frugality, and knowing how to avoid blowing it all. He puts it perfectly. Getting money is one thing, keeping it is another. And keeping it usually comes down to behaving in ways that protect you from your own worst instincts. Housel also talks a lot about compounding, and not in the boring math textbook way. He explains how compounding is almost like magic, tiny, consistent actions that build up over time to create enormous results. He tells stories about investors who didn't necessarily beat the market every year, but who simply stayed invested for decades, and because of that, their wealth grew to levels most people can't even imagine. Compounding isn't just about interest rates, it's about patience. It's about not interrupting the process. Now, one of my favorite takeaways was this. Wealth is what you don't see. We live in a world where people show off cars, watches, vacations, and fancy houses. And it's easy to think, wow, they must be rich. But Housel points out that those things are evidence of spending, not wealth. Real wealth is the money sitting quietly in your bank account, your investments, or the financial freedom you've built. It's invisible to others, and that's the point. When you start seeing money this way, it shifts your priorities. You start valuing freedom over flexing. Another important idea is that saving is more powerful than income. Sure, making more money is great, but if you don't control your spending, you'll never feel wealthy. He says your savings rate matters more than your salary because savings give you options. They give you security, flexibility, and peace of mind. And honestly, peace of mind is worth way more than a bigger paycheck. The book also challenges the idea that there's one right way to manage money. Instead, Housel says personal finance is exactly that, personal. What's right for you might look crazy to someone else, and that's okay. For example, paying off your mortgage early might not make sense mathematically if the interest rate is low, but if it helps you sleep at night, then it's the right decision for you. Money decisions are about more than numbers. They're about emotions and comfort. Now let's talk about risk, because this is where a lot of people slip up. Housel warns against assuming the future will always look like the past. Just because things have gone well for a while doesn't mean they always will. That's why humility is so important. You have to leave room for the unexpected. He suggests planning as if things will go wrong, because eventually they will. Markets crash, businesses fail, emergencies happen. People who survive financially aren't necessarily the ones who are the smartest. They're the ones who prepared for surprises. Something else that hit me was his point about enough. He tells the story of a wealthy hedge fund manager who lost everything because he couldn't stop chasing more. And it makes you think, when is enough actually enough? The truth is, chasing endless growth often leads to reckless decisions. The happiest people are usually the ones who figure out what enough looks like for them and stop comparing themselves to everyone else. And maybe the most refreshing idea in the whole book is that money isn't really about money, it's about freedom. Having money gives you the ability to wake up and decide how to spend your day. It gives you control over your time, and at the end of the day, time is the most valuable asset any of us have. If money helps you buy back your time, then it's being used in the best possible way. So here's my honest take. The Psychology of Money is one of those books that anyone, no matter how much or how little you know about finance, can benefit from. It's not going to teach you which stock to buy, but it will give you the mindset you need to build and keep wealth over the long run. And in my opinion, that mindset is way more valuable than any quick financial hack. If you've ever felt stressed about money, if you've ever wondered why you make certain choices, or if you just want a fresh perspective that's grounded in real human behavior, this book is worth your time. It's simple, it's relatable, and it'll probably change the way you think about money forever.